Us go live. You are live. Okay. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. Today, I have Mr. Andrew Baydala once again. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. It's good to be here. You are probably one of a handful of people that I would even do this with, so thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. Like you said, one of my favorite things, to talk with you is business, professional wrestling and the business of professional wrestling. Today I have a bunch of questions. I think I have like 13. You guys in the chat, you guys are going to ask all of your questions as well. I just want to preface, I might not ask like NFL questions because I'm not too prevy in the world of NFL.
All I could say is I'm happy that football is back every week now until February. So God is good. Football is back. God bless America.
That's all, you guys in America and your football.
Listen, I love Canada. You guys got Survivor Series.
Yes, we did. Survivor Series. I actually didn't have a question about that. I might ask about that later though.
That was a shocker.
That was a big one.
Vancouver especially.
Yeah. No, it's big because you don't really expect a whole lot of Canada to get PLEs like Montreal, Toronto. Those are the two big ones for me.
And now you know you're Canadian.
How?
You said Montreal, right?
Yeah, Montreal.
Yeah, well, you get a lot of people who are like, "You ever been to Montreal?" And it's
there you
go. I've been to Montreal before. Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's a couple of words that I say, and people are like, he's Canadian.
Hey.
Hey, there you go. You guys in the chat, hopefully you guys can ask some questions too as people start to file on in. I know it's a little early for the wrestling fans, but we do have Cleveland happening today, so seeing all the people in Cleveland makes me a little jealous.
Yeah, listen, I hear you. Again, the reason I stayed home was my 7-year-old was he said, "Dad, are you going to Summerslam?" And I said, "Yeah, buddy, I'm covering it live. I'm going to interview some people and go from there." And he was like, "Oh, okay." And I could see the look on his face. We've watched the past couple SummerSlams together. I missed WrestleMania night 1, flew home for night 2 for him. And I just figured, these are the times where he's so young, like he's 7, and hopefully these core memories stick with him. And because they did with my family, like my mom and dad used to have people over for big events, Super Bowls, World Series, that type of stuff. So for me, we're going to grill out. We're going to sit on the deck. I'm going to throw on the projector and we're going to watch SummerSlam together and have some food and hopefully make some memories for him because dad travels a ton. And unfortunately, since WrestleMania, fortunately and unfortunately, I've been at Dynasty, Forbidden Door. I did the esports venue. I did Raw. I did a SmackDown. I did a bunch of other things for AEW and WWE. And I am so blessed and thankful for the opportunities. And I don't take them for granted. And I thank WWE for the hospitality they showed me on Monday and the availability they gave me for this weekend. But for me, my family is always most important.
That's it. It's so good, and yeah, I'll be live on here. I haven't announced it yet, but I was thinking about doing like a reaction thing because all the creators are in Cleveland. So it's like, hey, there's a little bit of a
smart.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. There's the business in the hey, everyone's going to be at the show. That's another thing that a lot of people don't put into the equation. WWE is genius for that because realistically, they get all the creators off the internet for the most part. And you only have a handful of people who are doing live reactions or post shows. Mm-hmm. There you go.
Exactly. So, yeah, you guys in the chat, you guys can ask questions. I'll be talking about a lot of things. I can already see Britt Baker, that discussion starting up. Brawl Out 2. No, it's not Brawl Out 2. Let's relax. Let's pump the brakes a little bit here. Yeah, good to see you guys there. So I'll be looking at the chat every once in a while if you guys want to ask your questions. But let's start with AEW. There's a lot of news coming out of AEW this past week. The biggest piece of news probably, Shane McMahon had a talk with Tony Khan. There was a photo that got leaked. If Shane goes to AEW, why would that be such a big deal?
Well, from the business side, Shane has a ton of, that WWE Stamford, New York, or whatever the cool people want to call the WWE nowadays, acumen. He has business acumen outside of the WWE too. He was trying to do stuff over in, I believe, China and Japan. with a video streaming service. So he's got the international business appeal too. He also is very sharp when it comes to different things inside the wrestling business, obviously. Storyline driven stuff. Shane was always ahead of the curve, in my opinion. Shane wanted Vince and WWE to buy UFC, and Vince saw no value in it and thought it was a dying product. And now look at UFC. They're all under one umbrella. Shane also, there's some other things that Shane brought to the table inside of WWE, WWF at the time that Vince was probably, against in terms of business-wise. He saw some things that people were maybe interested in, fans were interested in. So I think Shane could bring that to AEW. And again, if AEW wants to expand their international portfolio, their international business, Shane McMahon is somebody I would hire yesterday. Not to mention Shane can have a couple matches. So
right, yeah, that'd be really good. People are already booking Shane McMahon versus Darby Allin.
Obviously, the train wreck there obviously is what it is. But yeah,
right. And we were talking about, or you hosted a Spaces. I joined you on that one as well.
Yes.
What do you think Shane could do as an on-screen talent?
It's a good question. I think Shane could obviously provide something where it's those linear eyeballs that you're looking for. I think Shane could absolutely pop a rating for a Dynamite or a pay-per-view. The big thing here, Daniel, is that a McMahon not in WWE would be monumental because the WCW purchase was a purchase by a McMahon. But when you have a McMahon outside of the WWE universe and the WWE TKO realm, that's massive. And Tony can tout that. AEW can tout that. And realistically, that'll set the media market on fire too. Like every news outlet's going to pick up on that. Vince has got his horrible allegations out there and they're repulsive and all this other stuff, but Shane wasn't a part of those allegations, nor was he ever named. And I really don't believe that Shane knew. I know a lot of people roll their eyes, but I believe the family members are the last people to know about the evil deeds of people. Like, go look at, I'm not comparing Vince to, murderers and stuff like that, but the mom and dads and the brothers and sisters never know what's going on. That's just not how it is. So I believe that Shane will have that appeal to the mass media markets that AEW's probably honestly looking for right now with their media rights coming up and the exclusivity window gone. But the matches he can have, there's 4 people off the top of my head that I think would work. And Shane's got to be one of those performers where it's once in a while, not every week.
Do you think that the photo that got leaked, it seemed to be planned? Do you think it was planned?
I think there's no such thing as coincidence. So they're both looking at a camera. It's a private airport. I'm not going to say that it was done on purpose or anything else like that, but they're at a private airport. I'm sure that door is shut. I'm sure there's another person in that room who probably took the photo. But if it's a employee that runs by and goes, "Hey, Tony," and takes the photo and skedaddles off, where are you going in a private airport? Not to mention, what are you going to run on the runway? Where are you going? How are you getting home? You got to hop in your car. You don't think they're going to stop you? You don't think that somebody's going to contact the employee and be like, "Hey, listen, they don't want that out. You're either going to be fired. We'll offer you some money. Do not let this photo get out." They know what they're doing. There's no such thing as coincidence.
Right. And I know that you were saying that with the Shane McMahon announcement, you don't want it to happen on TV. You don't want it to happen after a match or randomly during the show. You want it to be announced beforehand and put on a pedestal. Why do you think that that's the best way to go about it?
Well, here's the deal, right? With Shane McMahon joining AEW in any sort of capacity, I think the wrestling is second. I don't think anybody is going to go nuts about Shane McMahon wrestling in an AEW ring. Shane's best days in the ring are probably behind him, but he still can pull out a match. He still is crazy. He's still athletic. But the big signing is the business side, the executive side of one Shane McMahon. And that, I believe, is something that they need to capitalize on. You want to feel big, right? Because they are. AEW has more money than WWE in terms of the Khans and the Jaguars and everything else like that. So they're not bringing Shane in because they need money. And Shane doesn't need the money either. But this is a monumental moment in wrestling. And if they can parlay it into their media rights announcement, where they're, "Hey, we're going to stay here with Warner Brothers Discovery," or they're going somewhere else or whatever. And you could have Shane McMahon sign his contract with All Elite Wrestling as an EVP or a consultant or whatever. Man, You want to talk about buzz? Do it in New York City. I would have done it today, capitalize off the SummerSlam buzz and kind of get everybody over to AEW. But I think this happens, if it does at all, within the next 30 to 60 days. But they need to make a big deal about it. It needs to be a big deal. I don't want Shane popping up on a Dynamite in front of 4,000 people. I'm not knocking their attendance of late. I'm just saying it doesn't make any sense. You can have them show up at Wembley, but realistically, like, people have already bought that pay-per-view and they're already there, bought their tickets. I get it, but realistically, what does that do? It creates that buzz for that minute. You want to build the anticipation and the hype. Do it in New York City, LA. I don't care where you go, but make a big deal about this because it's monumental.
Right. And you touch on the AEW and their media rights. The negotiation window closed for their TV rights deal. What does that mean for AEW, their TV rights? People were saying, oh, Warner Brothers, they don't want them. They don't want them anymore. But, you know, is AEW going to look at other companies? Are they going to try and, you know, scout the market?
I think what it means, truthfully, is I believe that this happens all the time. I think if you're a free agent, and that's what AEW's media rights are right now, WWE does it all the time. I don't think they've ever had a renewal in that negotiation window, that exclusivity window. I think WWE has always gone to the open market, and that's what you do. You see what's out there, you see all the offers on the table, and then you can either stay with what you have and the person you know and the outlet you know, the media company you know, or you go elsewhere. And I think this was a foregone conclusion. I also believe it's a foregone conclusion that AEW and WBD are going to do business together. I just think this is Tony kind of maybe playing a little bit of game of chicken, and maybe he just wants to see what AEW's value is. Tony's a smart man. He's an analytical genius, and he's like a wrestling encyclopedia. He's a historian. So Tony's going to get the best deal for AEW, and if it's with WBD, then it's with WBD. I know that Tony's loyal to a fault, so we'll have to wait and see. But I think this was coming regardless, Daniel. I think that AEW is always going to hit the open market, so...
Yeah, like the only other piece of news that I heard, you know, in regards to WWBD was that they were interested in talking with WWE. Obviously, like, I think that when that news dropped, it's like, well, of course they're going to talk to everybody. You know, people were saying, oh, it's like the end of the world. But, you know, at the end of the day, all signs are pointing towards WWBD and AEW making a deal. So I feel like it's going to happen.
Yeah. Again, I don't think this is like the sky's falling down. I don't think this has anything to do with they're not happy with this, they're not happy with that. Tony has talked glowingly about WBD, Warner Brothers Discovery, and vice versa. I think Ring of Honor is going to be rebranded as AEW Ring of Honor, just like WWE is WWE NXT. So, and I think it's smart. Tony understands the marketability and the visibility that comes with, realistically. The connectivity and the synergies between the two brands are something that Tony needs to adapt to, because Ring of Honor on its own is not going to end up on television. That's why I asked the question at the media scrum. I named 2 networks. He eliminated both of them. That's why he asked the question. A lot of people were like, this guy doesn't know that there's more networks under the Warner Brothers Discovery umbrella. Of course I do. But I now know that Ring of Honor will not be on TBS and TNT.
Mm-hmm. Moving on to more recent news this morning. Actually, I didn't even have this question on here until this morning. Dave Meltzer reported that Britt Baker has been, is it suspended or she's just, you know?
I think she was fined by the disciplinary committee, whomever the hell that is, whatever it is. I don't know.
Whoever that is. You know, she made a comment about MJF. Fightful Select said that the match is still on for All In, but does this raise any concern about how professional the AEW locker room is?
I'm not going to comment on how professional the locker room is because I'm not back there, and I'm not that type of person or content creator where I'm going to speculate because I'm not there. I'll give you a firsthand recollection if I ever get back there, or a firsthand answer. But I think at some point we need to stop making headlines backstage, and with the drama backstage, we need to make headlines and make some money in the ring. That's where the business is done. So controversy creates cash. Drama, you could build off real life drama, make a boatload of money. I believe AEW missed out on boatloads of money, boatloads of ticket sales between Punk and FTR and the Elite. And here we are. Punk's in a different company, a different place in his life. and all the others are still there. But man, that would have been something. So I think that's a missed opportunity. And Daniel, I'll be honest with you. I would have told all 6 of those gentlemen to keep their asses home until they could figure it out, until we can get this in the ring and make some money off of it. That's what I would have done. I will tell Britt Baker the same thing if I was in charge. I would say, listen, we need to cut this shit out. We need to figure it out, and we need to make money. So that's it for me. The drama backstage, if true, needs to come to a halt. And I just want to be talking about how much money and the stories and the dramas they're making in the ring, which will generate revenue for AEW. The backstage buzz drama that doesn't translate to the ring does nothing for them. Nothing.
So do you think we see MJF and Britt Baker in a ring together,
No.
cutting a promo? Not like facing each other. But.
Oh, I mean, they could do that. I also, I've seen the conspiracy theories where they're like, this is a plant for Cole to come back. Cause yeah, I don't think so. Realistically, I don't think so. I think Britt and Adam, from what has been reported, have gone their separate ways. So, I don't know. I just think that realistically, I understand Britt's a no nonsense type of person. I respect the hell out of her for that. And she stands up for herself. There's no doubt about that. Adam Cole's a sweetheart of a dude. So kind of polar opposites in that aspect, but I would not want this to continuously get out. I think it just needs to stop. And I think Britt has so much talent and so much to give AEW that we don't need any more of this shit, realistically.
Yeah, we saw kind of the opposite side. WWE, the only thing that really came out recently back at War Games with the Bloodline, Sami Zayn, all of that, is Kevin Owens had an unplanned spot. He blew out Roman Reigns' eardrum. Roman got pissed off. There was a little bit of thing there. No one really blew it up. No one was, it got out, but it was like, everything will be fine. Another instance is Drew McIntyre walking out at the end of War Games last year because Punk was returning. There was this whole thing. He stormed backstage. He grabbed his stuff, left the arena. And now, like you said, they're turning it into a real feud, and it's the hottest feud in WWE.
Well, and Seth Rollins, said to, I don't remember who it was, but I believe it was during a WrestleMania, or maybe it was a SummerSlam media availability, that he wants nothing to do with CM Punk. Keep him away. He's a cancer, blah, blah, blah. And we see Punk in WWE, and they focus in on it, which was great. That was supposed to be a WrestleMania 40 match. Didn't happen due to Punk's injury, but WWE has always tried to make money off of drama. Brett and Sean, there's a lot of things that WWE will constantly, hammer if they can make money off of it. And I understand you don't want to put your talent in an uncomfortable situation at times, but realistically, I believe the best stuff that happens in wrestling is the stuff that has a little bit of real to it,
Yeah, and a lot of that was before my time too. Like the
Brett Sean stuff was wild, dude. It was wild.
I can't even imagine.
It was, I was a 13-year-old kid. I never put 2 and 2 together. And then, 2000, 2001, when I was or 2002, 2003, when I started to get into my adult years, you go back and read all the stuff and you're like, wow. And then Brett's book comes out and you read all that and you're like, wow. So, it was interesting, and they all make sense. The timelines add up. Brett gets out. Sean doesn't want to do business, blah, 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 blah. But they had 2 matches with each other. They had vicious back and forth, promos where they were taking cheap shots at each other. And a lot of people didn't understand what it meant. I didn't as a 13-year-old kid, but Vince got that stuff in the ring. So Tony needs to get some of this stuff in the ring, and the Punk stuff's not happening. WWE is obviously going to capitalize off that with Punk and Rollins and Punk and McIntyre now. So it's interesting.
Right.
Very, very interesting.
And do you think it like all it takes is for WWE to say, I know you don't like the guy, but here's this money? And
I'll be honest with you. I think if it's me and you, and you have a problem with a talent, we'll just, do a little role play here or scenario. I would be like, hey, listen, our job is to entertain the fans. You two don't like each other. I don't care. I don't care that you two don't like each other. What we care about is the business. And there's a little bit of drama between you two. He's here. You're here. You can either make this work, or we could put you in something you probably don't want to be doing. He's a main eventer. You're a main eventer. Let's make some money. Put your garbage aside. Go talk with each other and go do business with each other. You don't have to be best friends. I don't care if you're friends or not, but let's do business together, because that's what this is. And there are nobody here. There's nobody here that's bigger than the 3 letters, WWE or AEW. So get it together and let's go make money. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Moving on from all of this is Bryan Danielson has trademarked the yes chant. This was a massive piece of news earlier on in the week. There was speculation that this could mean that Bryan is leaving AEW.
Yeah, no.
Why do you think Bryan trademarked it in the first place?
Well, I think it's a smart business aspect from him. He can make money off this until, the trademark expires or the day he dies. Realistically, that's what he's synonymous for. That's what everybody knows. I think the thing behind my head right now is the WrestleMania 30 attendance from 2014 where Bryan won it. There's 30 through 39 here in my office. WWE was kind enough to send me those. So again, I think Bryan knows what his visibility, his marketability is. And if that came up, that he can get it because WWE let that license expire, that trademark expire, it was smart for Bryan to go grab it. And I think WWE realizes, what are we going to hold on to this IP for? He's not here. He's probably not coming here. And we can't really make money off of this because we're not going to use yes, yes, yes with somebody else. And it's synonymous with Bryan. So let him have it. Who cares? And if he comes back here, he comes back here. Cody Rhodes owns the American Nightmare trademark.
Right.
That's why they use Nightmare. WWE doesn't throw out the American Nightmare on their t-shirts. It's just Nightmare on their belts and everything else like that.
Oh,
and I'm sure WWE gets a cut. I don't want to sit back and say that. And I'm sure Cody gets a cut too. I don't want to sit back and say that I know that. But if you go look, my son's belt says Nightmare. Yeah. It doesn't say the American Nightmare. And I'm sure that logo is also trademarked by Cody too, but it's interesting.
In Toronto, there was a shirt being sold, the Canadian Nightmare.
See?
There you go.
Maybe instead of 90-10, it's 50-50 when they don't use American.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But, I always felt that Bryan's entrance was missing something, like when he would shuffle down to the ring. I'm like, come on, just put your arms up.
And what's going to be cool, realistically, like a lot of people don't want to talk about this, but Wembley Stadium is going to have, 50, 60,000 people, and Bryan can do the yes and want the yes to happen because it's now his. So it's a great point. And maybe they do the foam fingers. Maybe they do the t-shirts. Maybe they do whatever. But at the end of the day, now it's his IP. So good for him.
The yeet hands were so smart.
Oh,
by
God.
WWE.
Pat and Michael Cole had him on Raw this past Monday. I was in St. Paul. But that was the merchandise that flew was Jay's yeet shirt, the blue one, was gone. I couldn't get it for my kid in any size besides an extra large, and I was like, no. Cody's American Nightmare hat, the red, white, and blue one, flew. His belts, weight belts, the kids' ones, the one with the Velcro, flew. So Jey Uso and Cody are just absolutely killing the merch game. So good on WWE.
Going back to AEW and kind of touching on WWE as well, Tony Khan recently said that AEW would be open to working with WWE. The executive vice president of talent relations and head of communications at WWE said no interest in regards to that. Why do you think that WWE wants to work with TNA but not AEW?
Well, I could tell you that I don't believe that WWE would have any interest in working with AEW after the comments that were made by some AEW talent and even their CEO. I mean, Tony's a really good guy. But at the end of the day, you can't make derogatory comments, even in character, if that's what Tony was doing, and then be like, yeah, I'd work with them. Like that, they're not going to be open to that. And realistically, I don't think Triple H is the biggest fan of Tony Khan. I don't know that to be factual, but Tony took a lot of Triple H's talent that he was grooming in NXT and homegrown talent and all that other stuff, realistically, because Vince McMahon saw nothing in them. So I think there's that underlying, like, son of a, like, you have half my talent. And, you see what they're doing with Cross, Priest, Gunther, all this other stuff. I mean, the women, go look at the women who Triple H is pushing. You got Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. I mean, Vince was pushing Rhea, but under Triple H's regime, I mean, Rhea has become a polarizing star. So I just don't think WWE would ever have any interest in AEW because realistically, AEW is their biggest competition. But I don't think WWE is worried about AEW. I don't think they spend their days worrying about Tony Khan either. I just wish that I'm happy that Tony answered the question politically correct, but it just made no sense.
Yeah. It was definitely a question mark that went off in my mind. It's like, if you're going to be called the Harvey Weinstein of wrestling, and they're not going to want to work with you.
Yeah, I didn't understand that one. Like, I understand WWE's stance. Like, no, we have no interest, and that makes sense. I just, again, I think the Forbidden Door concept with WWE and TNA is great, but I think WWE is reaping all the benefits. And I think the Forbidden Door concept with AEW, New Japan, CMLL, and AAA has run its course. And I hope this year is the last time we see it, because realistically, besides a couple major stars, they're all over in AEW right now anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. Moving on to TNA, I got a couple questions here. TNA and WWE, they have a partnership where TNA talent are appearing on NXT, vice versa a little bit. Do you think that WWE are getting a lot more out of this deal than TNA is?
Yeah. I think WWE is reaping all the benefits. I think TNA, obviously, we don't know what the future holds. Maybe TNA, they're going to have a Worlds Collide, all this other stuff. Who knows? I don't know. But for right now, when you have Joe Hendry and, you have other talent appearing on WWE, NXT, the Rascals, Jordan Grace, all this other stuff. I mean, yeah, I think WWE is absolutely reaping all the benefits. And I understand why. Like, WWE is not going to get in bed with somebody where they can't maximize their potential revenue and return. So the Joe Hendry thing's interesting with the contract, though, because that kind of puts Joe out of the free agent market and basically lock, stock, and barrel with WWE, which is smart on WWE.
That's actually my next question. Joe Hendry recently revealed on the Wrestling Mat podcast that his TNA deal is very lenient. He's allowed to appear on NXT, TNA, the Indies. He's got his booking thing in his, he's got his booking email in his profile. So I reached out for an interview. I want to see if he responds to that. He's also allowed to train in the WWE Performance Center. This has never been done before. So clearly WWE is trying to attract Joe Hendry for when his TNA deal is done.
Yeah. What's the attractiveness to AEW, right? AEW allows you to work indies. They allow you to do whatever you want to do in terms of, you got to be on their television when they need you. And I mean, Swerve just worked House of Glory and he's the AEW world champion. He worked the Amazing Red last weekend, I believe. So realistically, I think that is something that Triple H and WWE is adapting. And they're like, hey, okay, what's the attractiveness to AEW? All right, let's do that, but let's do it better because we're WWE. And that's their mentality, and I think it's a smart one. It also, like I said, prevents Joe from even listening to AEW because he would 100% get an offer when his contract's up, because realistically, he's a WWE guy from now until when that contract expires. He's working TNA. His TNA contract expires on a certain date, but after that, the WWE contract goes into place. So they're giving him a taste of what everything is, and hopefully he stays. So
right. I think that WWE is also very attracted in people that can make a name for themselves and make a character for themselves, and all WWE has to do is just bring them in and just put the WWE machine behind it.
Well, it's less work when you think about it. Like, you don't have to fully develop somebody. It's like when you get that can't miss prospect, like a Trevor Lawrence, like Joe Burrow. Basically, all you got to do is, fit him into a system, fit him into a playbook, and kind of surround the playbook around him, and then go from there. And that's exactly what WWE is doing. Okay, Jordan Grace is a star. Joe Hendry's a star. Made names for themselves outside of WWE. Now let's just put the WWE sprinkle on them and her and send them on their way. And that's what they're doing. And Jordan Grace is going to be in WWE in January. I think she probably doesn't even hit NXT. And I think Joe Hendry will be a part of NXT and WWE for a while, especially when that CW deal is on the air here in October.
I think it's a question I always had with NXT. Do you think that WWE is slowly trying to bring back the indie feel for NXT because they have Ethan Page, Sean Spears is back in, Joe Hendry? I feel like slowly NXT is starting to become that old NXT that we used to see.
Like Black and Gold, like we used to see when they would go to the Barclays Center for SummerSlam and sell it out and all that other stuff. Yeah, I think Triple H and Shawn Michaels want that feel back. And I also respect what they're trying to do. They're legitimately trying to make this a good third brand because CW paid them a good amount of money for WWE's third brand. I mean, realistically, like having that third brand get that type of media rights deal just goes to show you the power of WWE and the machine right now. So yeah, I think they're going to load up. I think you're going to see Stephanie Vacour. I think you're going to see a lot of people over there. I wouldn't be surprised if you see maybe a Danny Garcia, maybe somebody else over there, maybe Ricky Starks. I don't know. I really don't. Motor City Machine Guns, but I will tell you that CW show is going to be loaded. I wouldn't be surprised if Roxanne Perez drops the championship to Vacour or somebody else, the NXT Women's Championship, because they're going to want a moment on that CW show, and I believe that roster is going to be loaded for a little bit.
Moving into the world of WWE on that note, they're getting a lot more raunchy. You know, The Rock swearing was just the start of it. Liv Morgan doing the turnaround. Is this WWE slowly starting to get us accustomed to Netflix's WWE?
So, it's funny. I had a buddy who reached out to me and he's like, hey, how come you don't ever take your kid to AEW? And I was like, I love AEW, but AEW is more of an adult based kind of, 13 and up kind of program for me. My son's 7, if he was 10, maybe. But I do believe, and I said this to him, I said, when WWE goes to Netflix, I don't think Jackson can go to Raw. We'll have to wait and see. We've taught him, it's our job to parent that when you hear, because adults use the words, not me and my wife, but when you go out, other adults will curse and all that other stuff. And we teach him that you don't say that, that's for adults and stuff like that. But the raunchiness that'll probably come with Raw going to Netflix will be something we haven't seen. It'll be unprecedented. And I hate to use those words, but I think you'll see a lot more cursing. And I think WWE will push the proverbial envelope here in terms of what they can and cannot do, because there's really no restrictions on Netflix at all.
Yeah.
So
the biggest meme was the Seth Effin Rollins that's been going around. We'll have to see how WWE changes. It was mainly the main reason why I got into WWE when I was a kid, not the raunchiness, but because I saw, a big colorful guy in John Cena, and I was like, right. Colors, and I loved it.
So to that point, which is the smartest thing, one of the smartest things I've ever heard you say, if you go back and look, right, go look at Sonic, go look at Mickey, Mario, all that other stuff. They're all blue or red, which is something that kids, look at your background. Kids are always like blue, red, girls are pink, boys, all that other stuff. They are not stupid. And WWE was very smart to market the blue, red, green, purple, black, white, yellow. I mean, it was all the time. And you're like, colors. Yeah. And that's what attracts you to John Cena. It's like, look at that. WWE was smart. Very, very smart.
Yeah, I'm looking on my phone here for 1 second just to show you.
Sure.
Just to show you this here.
My kid loves John Cena.
There you go.
Right. My kid loves John Cena. And he's like, Dad, John Cena's retiring. Can we go to WrestleMania this year? And I was like, well, John's not retiring at WrestleMania. It's also Easter Sunday. And it's in Las Vegas. So we're going to go with no, no, and no. Only because, and I said, I love you. We'll go to a WrestleMania. I'm sorry that Minneapolis got screwed. And I know that, we'll go to that SummerSlam if we're still here and whatnot in Minnesota. But I told him I will get you to a John Cena match before he retires, because John's one of his guys. John, Roman, Cody, Jimmy, and Punk now, which is awesome. I'm so, realistically, I am happy that Punk is with the WWE, because my son can see CM Punk, because I let him watch some things with AEW with Punk, because for me, Punk is one of those guys that you have to see. He's got this aura about him. And I wanted my son to experience that. So I'm happy that Punk's with WWE so my son can experience CM Punk. So yeah, we'll get Jackson to a John Cena match.
Interestingly, with CM Punk, my experience with CM Punk as a kid was actually the Straight Edge Society. So I never saw badass CM Punk. I only saw the Jesus hair.
Okay.
CM Punk. And so when I came back, I'm like, oh, this guy's awesome. Wait a minute.
Yeah. So I saw Punk in Ring of Honor. My buddy was a huge Ring of Honor fan, and I had no interest. I was, just regular WWE, WCW, ECW when they were around. Really never watched any of the indie stuff. My buddy was like, we're going to Ring of Honor. They were in Long Island, New York, and then we started to go every time they came back. But it was the Danielson, Punk, Joe, Homicide, Christopher Daniels era of Ring of Honor. And I was just like, I was blown away by CM Punk. And ever since then, I have tried to make it a point to be at every major event that he's at in terms of on the bill, because there's something about him. He's got that aura about him. And he's just a good dude, really good dude, genuine. He'll tell you how he feels, and he'll tell you he don't like you. He'll tell you if he does like you. But yeah, I was at the ECW debut of Punk. I was there when he won his first World Heavyweight Championship. I was there when he defended when he won the WWE Championship. So for me, CM Punk is one of those guys that puts my my butt in the seat.
You talk about dates that WWE is trying to cover. You said Easter Sunday. What I thought was really smart was that they scheduled Survivor Series this year in Vancouver, Canada, not on Thanksgiving weekend for Canadians.
Smart.
Very
Brilliant.
smart. So,
Brilliant.
like, Americans are going to be free. Obviously, Canadians are going to be free. What do you think about WWE coming to Canada again, 2 times in 1 year?
Well, so here's the thing, right? WWE has been very smart. They go to markets that they haven't tapped into in a very long time. Canada is basically, it's close to the United States, but Vancouver might as well be, you know, Africa for as far as it is here in the United States for some people. Like, don't get me wrong, the Pacific Northwest, obviously, but the fans from the East Coast, unless you're diehards, are really not going to travel all the way to Vancouver for a PLE. So it makes them miss that Survivor Series event. So if you go look at the pay-per-view schedule, we have SummerSlam in the US, we have an international event, we have Bad Blood in the US, then we have Survivor Series, quote unquote, international, and then we have the Rumble right now, which obviously we know where the Rumble is going to be. But I mean, realistically, WWE has done a really good job of taking smaller events and 1 or 2 big major 5 events international. Money in the Bank was international, Backlash was international, Survivor Series is now going to be international. And I think it's brilliant to the point of the Thanksgiving stuff, because everybody in the US will be watching it because we're all off and all that other stuff. And now the breaks have gotten longer here in the United States for holidays. It's insane. People start like doing their Thanksgiving break 6 days before Thanksgiving. It's like, okay, guys, we don't need this much time. Let's get back to work, but you can't because it's like inhumane now. So it's just very smart for WWE. They're going to kill that market in Vancouver because realistically, I don't think there's been a pay-per-view there or a PLE since 1998. So, I mean, Triple H is very smart to go to those untapped markets.
There's a lot of PLE news that I have here.
Sure.
So let's get into it here. So, of course, I can't talk to you without talking about tickets. Of course, I got to talk to Drew about tickets. The tickets for Bad Blood selling like crazy.
Yeah.
SummerSlam sold very well, too. Do you think that WWE taking their shows internationally has driven up the demand for American PLEs?
It's a great question. Yes. I'd say that WWE has done a really good job of the FOMO, right? Okay, we get WrestleMania and then it's boom, 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 international. All right, now we're back in the States for SummerSlam, which is smart because you get them to miss 3 or 4 months of even being attending a PLE or a pay-per-view, and then everyone flocks to a stadium. I mean, we have over 51,000 people in the building on Saturday, and that's a testament. I don't care. I know that people look, well, the building holds 75,000. Okay, great. You could put 51,000 people in either a raining or hot as hell Cleveland Browns Stadium, and they're going to sit there for 4 hours and watch an event. You've done your job. And realistically, that building had 40,000 tickets sold before they even announced one match. And there's no Rock, there's no Roman on this bill, and they still sold 51,000 tickets. So, yeah, I think they have done a fantastic job of scheduling international and then United States venues to build demand and to build anticipation for the event so that people buy tickets 100%.
The ball is also now officially rolling for London to get a WrestleMania. Triple H and Nick Khan met up with the mayor of London, and people are getting excited. When do you think we'll see WrestleMania in London?
I think as early as WrestleMania 42, and I think as late as WrestleMania 43. I don't think this takes long. I proposed a theory the other day, and I'm going to stick with it. I know John Cena's last WrestleMania will be supposedly this year in Vegas. I think there's a possibility if WrestleMania gets announced officially for Wembley Stadium or London, wherever they decide to hold it in the United Kingdom. I do believe that John Cena will want to work that WrestleMania. I don't think he just wants to come out and do like a promo. Hi, guys. You're welcome. I got the ball rolling for you guys when you had money. I don't think that's John. I think there's a possibility that John wins his 17th World Championship in December, and they do a Ric Flair a la Daniel Bryan, kind of what he's doing right now, Bryan Danielson, where the next time he loses, he retires. And I think John can win the championship in December, defend it for 3 months, and then drop it back to Cody or somebody else who needs that moment at WrestleMania at Wembley Stadium.
Do you think John Cena gets his own PLE in December of next year?
I think there's a possibility that John has his farewell special on Netflix. People are talking about their John Cena moments, their greatest matches, blah, blah, blah. And maybe, we get something where Cody's like, hey, you deserve a shot at this. Go out on top. And that's where you could see John win his 17th championship. And then everybody's like, well, wait a second. John can't retire as champion. So what happens? And then we get a 3-month, 4-month extension and we get into WrestleMania at Wembley. I'm just booking for me. I don't say that could happen. It could not. If it doesn't, I'm here for the ride. And WWE is going to have the best retirement tour ever with John Cena of all time. It's going to topple everything that anybody has ever done. And the best one that I could think of recently is Sting. And with all due respect to AEW and Sting, John's and WWE is going to completely blow this out of the water.
Let's keep talking about John Cena. So he announced his retirement, Money in the Bank. I was there. I popped like crazy. My little inner kid came out there.
I was pissed.
You're mad.
I was pissed I wasn't in Toronto for that because I wanted to ask John some questions at the post-show press conference, but it was smart by WWE.
What would you have asked him?
I think a couple of questions were asked, but I would have asked, like, John, what made this decision? Like, how did you come to this realization? You've talked about it. I saw you talk to Cody on the ramp when Cody asked for a match, and you said you don't know how much you have left in you. What aligned that this was the time, this was the place? Like, what is it? And I believe John, and I think it was asked, but John kind of answered that. He was like, listen, WWE said, hey, let's have a year-long retirement tour for you. I mean, that's wild. Nobody's ever gotten that. So he's going to get it. And again, we talk about the hotness of WWE, their tickets, everything else like that. That momentum is going to continue all the way through 2025 because there's not going to be a town that doesn't want to see John Cena make an appearance for the last time.
Do you think WWE screwed up by putting on John Cena first at the press conference? He took
no.
I'm saying that because he took up 30 minutes, and like by minute 10, they were asking him, all right, John, wrap it up. And he's like, I'm not wrapping it up. Are you kidding me?
No, and I don't blame him. I mean, John's not in front of the WWE universe for a long time there, and that was the smart thing to do. Let John eat up as many minutes as they possibly had allotted for that thing, because realistically, the only two people that wanted that the media wanted to talk to was John and Paul Levesque, Triple H. So, and realistically, like, with all due respect to everybody else, the news circulating that whole PLE was John Cena's retirement, and that was it. So I thought it was smart, and I loved how John was like, "Up, one more, go ahead and take it." Like, John was basically like, "I don't care if you guys get mad at me because I'm walking out the door after this. I'm gonna go back to where I am, and you guys are gonna go do what you do." But they tried, and AEW has done that too. Like, AEW hired Adam Hopkins, and that's what he does. He kind of wraps up the press conferences now, which at sometimes is needed. But you're not going to do that with John.
No,
you're not doing that with John.
No, yeah, obviously them putting John on first was incredibly smart. It was just the allotted time that really bugged me because I'm like, no, but like, all due respect, no one wants to hear Tiffany Stratton talk about the Money in the Bank right now when John Cena's here.
And that's what I'm talking about. Like, they should have just let John and Triple H come out, and they should have been like, hey, go get a shower, go get changed, go back to the hotel. You guys are good. I appreciate you guys waiting, and I understand we had you scheduled, but right now no one's going to even give an ounce of energy to what, happened here at the show. Everyone's talking about John, and they're probably going to want to ask Paul some questions too. So let's go ahead, go home.
Right. Even Punk came out with Timmy's.
Yeah.
And he's playing up the muffin thing very well. I love how he's doing that. But yeah, no, back to the question I have here is that if we think that ticket prices are expensive now, when John Cena goes on his retirement tour and when Netflix's WWE hits the market, I can't imagine what the ticket prices for a Raw are going to look like.
I think it's market by market, but I will tell you, like, the Brooklyn market, the TD Garden in Boston, the prices that I saw for those, I was baffled. Like, I understand the cost of living is high. I understand the cost of renting a facility in those major markets in the tri-state area is high too. Like, I understand all the business aspects that go into booking a venue, especially in, New York, Brooklyn, Boston, Massachusetts, whatever. When you're asking somebody to pay $350 per ticket to sit in the lower bowl by the ring, not even on the floor, if you're trying to take your kid, that's $725 before you even get there. And if you have kids, they're going to want a t-shirt, a popcorn, a soda, M&Ms, Skittles. I have to go to the bathroom 19,000 times. Then we're going to get a t-shirt. Then we're going to get a foam hand. I mean, you're talking about $1,000 easy before you get into the building. And I think that demand and those prices will have to come down because the other venues, Daniel, that they priced right, Phoenix, Milwaukee, Portland, all these, the tickets flew. They're gone. You can't get them. There's a bunch of seats sitting for that Brooklyn SmackDown or Raw, I believe. I don't know which one it is, because they're just priced very high. It's hard for a family to go to that show. And I know people are like, well, if you can't afford it, don't go. It's not that. That's not the mentality you want when you're trying to pack buildings. You want to make it price friendly and affordable so that you can bring your family or you can go. I shouldn't have to take out a loan to go to a wrestling event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, we talked about that last time with them decreasing the size of the arena or of the stage in order to fit more fans so that the ticket prices doesn't shoot up. What's going to be very interesting, and I've always had this kind of in the back of my mind, is that Netflix, for Canadians as well as internationally, it's going to have everything on it. It's going to have Raw, SmackDown,
Right.
NXT, PLEs are all going to be on it. Right now we have Sportsnet Plus. It sucks. I'm really excited to see like what Netflix does with it. And, even Triple H was saying that, 80% of the world is going to now be able to watch WWE programming.
Yeah, on Netflix, which is so smart. The international market, everything is headed to Netflix. And I think that's where everything ends up eventually here in the States too. I think that once the PLE's media rights, quote unquote, comes up in the tape library, I think they end up on Netflix too.
I don't know if it happened at your show, but at SmackDown, definitely at Money in the Bank, they were advertising Netflix moving or WWE moving to Netflix.
They advertised everything at us. The
Holy.
SmackDown, the NXT, and the Netflix move. They were all around the ring aprons. They
Right.
were on the Trons, all that stuff. Yeah.
It was every single break. There was a graphic on the ring. It was like they're trying to drive this into the fan base.
Well, for your market, thankfully, you only have to see one graphic, one visual, because that's where it's all going. It's all encompassing. For us, we had 3 different visuals, 3 different marketing reads, and all that other stuff. So yeah.
Oh man, that's gonna be tough.
Well, my son was asking me. He's like, "Wait, SmackDown's going to USA and Raw." He knew Raw was going to Netflix, but he's like, "Do we have Netflix?" I'm like, "Yeah, we have Netflix, dude."
Another question I had about your son.
Sure.
What did he think of the Wyatt 6?
So at home, he was terrified. Like, didn't want to watch it. Would run upstairs and be like, "Let me know when it's over." In person, he was like, "Hey, put on your light." I was like, "Okay." He wanted me like do the Firefly thing. I was like, "Okay, here, you do it." And he held it up and everything else like that. And I think because we were there, and I think he knows that Dad's with him. He was kind of, and there's a bunch of people here. He was kind of like, okay, like I could see this. I could see that they're far away from me. I don't fear them right now. So I think it was good. And I also think the way that they did it was adult based, but it wasn't like too horrifying for anybody. He does not like to sit down one-on-one interviews.
No, those even for me,
my wife says they're creepy. I mean, I'm a horror fan, so like for me, I don't mind it, and so is she. But she's like, this stuff's creepy, and I was like, well, yeah, that's the point,
Yeah. What's your favorite horror film?
Okay, so I'm gonna get some heat for this, but so for me, I'm a slasher guy, so I love the screams.
Yeah,
I love the scream. I love Wes Craven's screams. I love Scream 1 and 2. I even love Scream 3. I know a lot of people are like, it was the worst. But I liked it. And I would say my favorite horror movie is, like, besides that, is probably Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
There you go.
Yeah. What about you?
You know what? I hate horror.
Do you? Okay.
I hate it, but I'm very interested in like the complete side note. But this is like, I'm very curious about like the paranormal stuff.
So is my wife. I can't stand that crap.
I know I can't stand it either, but I'm a Christian, and so like spiritual stuff. I'm like,
yeah. I don't. For me, it's just like I don't welcome any of that stuff into my life.
No, of course not. Me neither.
That's why I'm just like I'm not watching anything about it, So I'm not trying to like channel any sort of that energy or whatever it is. For me, it's just a no-go. But I do believe that there are spirits that are in this earth that hopefully are good. But yeah, no, I don't know. For me, the horror stuff, like a sleeper one for me is House of a Thousand Corpses too.
Right. That's actually, what I was very curious about this whole Wyatt 6 thing. I wanted to see what type of approach they brought to it, and to see them unmasked. I can't imagine what that was like in person, but like
it was awesome. And I think that was needed. I also liked how they didn't just immediately jump into Howdy and Gable. Like there's money there. I'm actually happy they didn't have this match at SummerSlam because it just would get lost in the shuffle. They're making it a big deal on Raw the night after SummerSlam, and all eyes are going to be on that. So I think it was a smart move. The unmasking and the three gentlemen who are going to be in the ring, I think are the three best they possibly can. I do like Howdy. I think, Bo can work, but those three gentlemen are going to put on the show against the new Alpha Academy.
I think it's awesome to see that WWE can grab really anybody from NXT and they say, oh, they're ready. Like Joe Gacy in that role. He was perfect.
Yeah, I agree. Joe Gacy's perfect. The Dexter Lumis transformation is wild to see. Yeah. And how do you hate Rowan? You can't. Mm-hmm. Dude's a stud.
Yeah, going back to some of these PLEs, I got 3 more questions here in terms of PLEs, but WWE announced that, Minnesota is getting a 2-night SummerSlam in 2026. Thanks. Yeah, sorry.
They booed the hell out of that WrestleMania announcement.
I saw that TikTok. I saw that. That was crazy. But SummerSlam 2025 hasn't been announced yet. Do you think WWE is going to continue the pattern of SummerSlam being on the northern East Coast?
I think it's a great question. I think you could rule out Indy for SummerSlam in 2025 just because I think that would be saturation of that market. If you really go to the Rumble there, which is happening, and then 6 to 7 months later, you're back for a SummerSlam. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think it's a bad idea. I think it's, like I said, a saturation of that market, which I don't think they want. It'll be too much. I think 2025 will probably be 2 nights too. If not, what'll be interesting is like how they sell that. Well, SummerSlam in Minneapolis is 2 nights. It's the first time ever. They could, but I think that the 2-night stuff is probably going to stay for Mania, SummerSlam. I hope not for the Rumble. I think that's terrible, and I don't think for Survivor Series at all. But yeah, could they stay in the north? I think that SummerSlam. I originally thought that SummerSlam was headed to London. 2025. I said London or Saudi Arabia. It'll be interesting. I do think Saudi gets a major PLE, not named Crown Jewel or the other one. I can't remember what the other one's name is, but I think they do. So maybe SummerSlam in Saudi. I don't know.
They did Night of Champions there. Can't remember.
Yeah, right. So I mean, it's Crown Jewel and Night of Champions. They'll probably mix and match, but they could do Detroit. I mean, they were just there, but they could do it again. I don't know. Buffalo. I mean, yeah, they could do that too. Like the summer, it's smart for WWE to go to Minneapolis in the summer. I get it. It's hot as hell here in August and it's humid. So I get it. But I think, them giving us SummerSlam was a terrible consolation prize, especially 2 nights. It's done too. I don't think WrestleMania is ever coming to Minnesota.
No, that was a bad one.
But I could see Buffalo, and I'll be honest with you. My prediction for SummerSlam now that we have John Cena's announcement is Gillette Stadium in Boston, Massachusetts, Foxborough. Go. So there you go.
A TikTok that actually went viral. It did like 10,000 views of me and you. Money in the Bank.
Really?
It did. I had to check out the updated number, but it did really good numbers. Talking about Toronto, with Money in the Bank being a massive success in Toronto. There's been early rumblings. I heard this from you. Early rumblings of Toronto getting a SummerSlam or a Royal Rumble in the Sky Dome. Do you have any update in regards to that?
I think that's a real possibility. I think Paul Levesque and TKO and Endeavor and WWE are absolutely 100% in on the Canadian market. I think they saw and continue to see that what AEW, kind of like broke that Canadian, mold and was just like, hey, there's a lot of untapped resources here and untapped revenue. And then WWE went and just blew it out of the water. I mean, they just completely crushed it. So yeah, I believe that the Sky Dome, whatever they're calling it now, what are they calling it now?
The Rogers Center.
Rogers Center. It'll always be the Sky Dome to me.
Me too.
But the Rogers Center will absolutely host a Royal Rumble. I wouldn't even be surprised if they get a WrestleMania. I think, it's funny to me that they're touting WrestleMania 42 as the first international WrestleMania. I mean, no. I mean, I know Canada's part of North America, but come on.
Yeah.
So, I do believe that the Rogers Center Sky Dome will get a Royal Rumble, a SummerSlam, or a WrestleMania very, very shortly. And they deserve it. The Canadian crowds are unbelievable. And Toronto is so close to New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, that people could just drive up there and fly up there. It's an easy flight.
Yeah, I was talking to people in Toronto, just like walking around, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Cleveland. I'm from New York. I'm from this. I'm like, these guys. There was a lot of Canadians there, but, the American crowd, like the hardcore crowd, yeah, is kind of all surrounding Toronto.
Yeah, and why not? I mean, listen, the building's got a dome, Sky Dome, Rogers Center or whatever. Why not? Why not go there? You can control the weather. I mean, I'll be honest with you, the weather in Cleveland right now does not look good for SummerSlam. Now, hopefully things change, but I mean, I sat through that rainstorm of WrestleMania in Tampa, and it was ridiculous. I mean, it's a controlled atmosphere, controlled climate, and why not? And again, realistically, it starves the fans in the States, and WWE is really trying to do that at times because it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, right when Bad Blood was announced, the amount of people that I saw hyped finally, right, for a PLE to come back to America. It was like, oh, I got to go to Atlanta now.
Yeah, if you go look at those ticket sales too, they're through the roof. And I mean, they were priced right, but the hype around Bad Blood, I think a lot of people nowadays, myself included, and some people that run some major wrestling companies are nostalgic. 100% nostalgic, and they see the Bad Blood and they see all this other stuff, and Atlanta's centralized enough, Georgia, that they can go.
Yeah, everything pro wrestling in the chat. Andrew and Daniel, how are you doing? We're good. I live in Buffalo. We drive there for the shows. Exactly, it's so close, and if SummerSlam was in Buffalo, yeah, it's like a no-brainer that people from Toronto are gonna go.
Yeah. All right. I mean, Bad Blood's got, I think I want to say, if I go look at my manifest, I want to say they're already at 15,000 people that are tickets sold. That's a lot. A lot. And yeah, the Toronto market has everything you could possibly want in terms of that upper tri-state area, East Coast influx that they could easily have. So,
I got one more.
Yeah,
a couple more. But The Rock just finished filming The Smashing Machine. Is there a possibility that we see The Rock in Cleveland?
I believe the possibility of The Rock showing up in Cleveland is higher than Roman Reigns showing up in Cleveland. That's just me. I just think, a lot of people, I talked about this last night, and I'll reiterate and repeat here. How do we get to Roman Reigns saving Cody from an eventual beatdown of the bloodline? It doesn't make any sense. Like, Roman's just going to be like, I forgive you for what you did and put me through hell and took everything that I ever loved, and you took my baby, but here I am. That makes no sense whatsoever. And for everybody who dogs on the other company, who, there's no storylines, this stuff doesn't make sense. Why is this how the hell do you explain Roman Reigns saving Cody Rhodes' ass at the end of SummerSlam, unless his brothers, his cousins, the Usos, are helping Cody and they get the crap kicked out of them too? That's a way, but I think The Rock revealing himself as like the tribal chief for Solo's bloodline could be more, I would say, logical than just Roman showing up for no reason. Like, it's just Roman, here you go. Like, they're not gonna debut or re-debut or reintroduce Roman, who's gonna come back as the biggest babyface that the company has in this storyline, just because, well, him and Cody, they have a mutual disagreement for the bloodline. No, Cody took everything from Roman. No.
My mind immediately goes to Montreal Elimination Chamber when Kevin Owens ran out to save Sammy. I thought that was very poorly executed, because we got to see like, oh, he's running out, they're going to make up, and then they didn't.
Right.
That was odd. I said on your stream last night when you said that point, that I thought that, Roman's hatred for Solo now is greater than what maybe it is for Cody. Roman could run out.
But we haven't been explained that, Daniel. Yeah. Like, that's the thing. Like, we haven't been told that Roman's pissed at Solo. We haven't been told that Roman hasn't been calling the shots for the bloodline so that Solo could be the tribal chief in his absence, and now he's back and everything else like that. That we don't know. So WWE doesn't do convoluted, and WWE doesn't do like just the, hey, this is what we're giving you, shut up. And it doesn't make sense, so be it. We don't care. We're getting our biggest star back. This regime doesn't do that. Now, could Solo win the championship tomorrow and Roman comes out, puts his one up, and wants Solo to do it with him and hand him his championship, and Solo doesn't? We could. Then we're off to the races with that. But realistically, at that point, where are we going? Are we going to Bash at Berlin with Solo versus Roman in a one-on-one match? I don't think so. Again, we have to make sense of the whole Roman helping Cody. And for me, it just doesn't make any sense. But hopefully they change my mind on Saturday if that's what's happening.
That's good. Because my thinking, like I kind of became a fan during the Triple H era. I know that a lot of you guys are used to the Vince McMahon style booking, the instant gratification. Sometimes he prolongs storylines, but not too much. Same thing with Tony Khan. He likes to do next PLE. This is what we're doing. I get it. I completely get that style of booking. But with Triple H, he loves to prolong these stories, which is why in my next point, Rhea Ripley, Dominic Mysterio. This one's interesting for me because on TV.
Before you get into this, I just want to say that there is a possibility. And I want to say this because if it does happen, it makes sense. Cody beats Solo convincingly, right? Solo's on the outside. Cody's out there, and we get Roman. And Roman stares down Cody to end SummerSlam. That could work, a la Brock Lesnar when he did it with Roman in Vegas and John Cena. That works. And then we have this, Roman's back, Solo, who's the tribal chief? And they could play on that a little bit. That would make sense. That could work. So I just want to throw that out there too. Go ahead with your Rhea and Dom.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking about this Rhea and Dom storyline, and there's been so many teases over the past couple of months where Finn's talking with Liv back in the background. Finn's taking the key card. That still hasn't been explained. There's been so many hints towards Liv Morgan. So, and also Dominic Mysterio on Instagram as well as Twitter, liking her posts, putting these kissy faces, things like that. And then on TV, he says, "I hate you." And it's like, where did this come from? So do you think on Saturday, the people that are speculating that Rhea could be turned on by Dom is going to happen?
I think that Triple H and the new regime does a good job of swerving people. When you keep them guessing, you got them. Mm-hmm. And I think that there could be the real possibility that Finn screws over Rhea.
Oh,
no, Finn screws over Rhea. And then everyone's like, what the hell? And then we have that alignment. And, we could have that. I also think that there's a possibility that Dom could screw Rhea as well. I think the pop would be nuts. But I do believe, however we get out of SummerSlam, one of the two, Rhea and Priest, will no longer be affiliated with the Judgment Day. And I believe in the next 30 to 45 days, both of them, Rhea and Priest, are on their own faces. And we have a new Judgment Day that includes Liv. That's what I believe.
I like how Triple H has booked the Judgment Day in terms of staying around. Because the one thing I always hear when I look back, in the past 10 years, basically, of WWE history, is that the breakup of factions was very normal. But now the Judgment Day, household stable. I feel like Triple H is slowly trying to build up the Final Testament as well.
Yeah, and that's a great point because we've been calling for the demise of the Judgment Day for 4 months now, WrestleMania and it just hasn't happened. So I think Triple H sees the value in Judgment Day. I mean, they're in every major segment, multiple segments on Raw. They have the highest rated views on YouTube, et cetera, the Rhea and Dom and Liv stuff. So I think it's smart for Triple H to capitalize and slow burn the breakup or the explosion of the Judgment Day and give us a new iteration of that. Look at how long it took for the Alpha Academy to implode. And realistically, we still haven't gotten Gable and Otis yet. Mm-hmm. We haven't gotten that match. So it's interesting.
Yeah. This has been a great sit down. I'm kind of done.
It always is.
Yeah, I'm done with my questions, but I got a solid, good 15 written down and a lot more were spewed out.
Love it.
Yeah, this has been fun. And, we'll do this again, of course, in a few months as we do the last one. Any closing thoughts?
No, I appreciate the time. I appreciate everything that you do. Thank you for that. And I look forward to the next one. I love what you're doing. Keep doing it. Keep trying to be the best possible version of yourself. And again, keep doing the interviews, man. You're doing a really good job. And I thank you for the time today.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone in the chat, thank you guys for all tuning in. Enjoy SmackDown tonight. Enjoy SummerSlam tomorrow. And we'll see you guys for the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Dan.